Hello, everyone. Ian McMillan here from Fansided. Joining me today, tight end for the Carolina Panthers, Hayden Hurst. And if the viewers don't know, for the next 2 weeks, NFL players will be wearing customized cleats in honor of the causes they have chosen for My Cause My Cleats. And Hayden, you have chosen Face the Fight and your own foundation, the Hayden Hurst Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So I'm honored. I teamed up with USAA this year. I'm their official Salute to Service partner, and we're bringing awareness to mental health and suicide prevention by representing Face the Fight and my own family foundation as well. Military ties kind of run deep in my family. You know, my dad's dad was a Marine sergeant, and then my mother's father was part of JAG in the Navy as well. And then I've got two good buddies who fly Blackhawks in the Army. So, military roots kind of run deep in my family.
And I know obviously you have kind of had a storied history with some mental health struggles yourself. I read your article from the Players Tribune, which is a pretty powerful piece back in 2020. I also reread it last night. I want you to talk a little bit about that. Specifically, there's a line that stood out to me near the end of the article that was, there is so much strength in your weakness. Can you kind of expand on that and expand kind of on your history with mental health?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride, to get to where I'm at 30 years old and 6 years in the NFL. After I left high school, I went and played for the Pirates and, had all sorts of, unfortunately mental health and suicidal ideologies there. It just affected me on the field with performance anxiety. And then unfortunately kind of carried over to my off the field life as well, where I started, addiction stuff and, alcoholism. So it's been a hell of a ride to get to 30 years old, but I've got a great story to tell. And I've been talking to schools and colleges and teams all over the country and just kind of sharing my story and trying to help at least, give someone somewhere, some hope, because I know what it's like to feel alone, to feel like you're in this fight by yourself. And it's really the opposite. I think so many people struggle with anxiety, depression, or suicidal ideologies. It just kind of varies from person to person.
Yeah, and I think you play an important role in that, especially you being a professional athlete, because I think there is always kind of that stigma. Professional athletes, being tough means, you just kind of tough it up and you don't kind of talk about that stuff. So I think you talking about it has kind of shined a pretty bright light on it. When you were going through this, when you were an athlete, when you were playing baseball, did you feel any kind of extra burden or maybe some shame because of that, just because you were an athlete? Did you feel kind of any extra pressure because of that to kind of not speak up about the issues you're dealing with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of nailed it when you said, we're these athletes, we're on TV, we're supposed to be these rough, tough, nothing affects us. We just go perform on whatever our game day is, whether it's, Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. We're just these like modern day gladiators, if you will, that aren't affected by anything when, really it's the exact opposite. This life in the NFL isn't easy. Life just in general isn't easy. It throws you curveballs, traumas happen. But like I said, I'm 6 years in the NFL and I still wake up and have my days where I feel off. But luckily I've got my family, I've got my fiance to fall back on, and you really just have to have those things, those tools in your toolbox, so to speak, to fall back on, when things happen, because unfortunately life happens.
Do you think the stigma is improving at all with the younger generation of athletes? You've been in the NFL now, like you said, 6 years. You've seen a little bit of turnover. Do you think the younger generation that's coming up and coming through the college ranks, there's less of a stigma about mental health? Have you even felt any change in the locker room 3 years in the NFL and kind of how that's handled and how people kind of deal with the struggles that they're going through?
Yeah, definitely. In my first few years in the league, wasn't talked about as much. I know I was kind of given some advice when I was first coming out to keep my story hush hush, so to speak. Going through the draft process where they try to find anything and everything. So I was advised to kind of keep quiet for a little while. And then I kind of got to the point where, I always kind of say this and talk about it. It's not from a place of arrogance, but I just kind of got to a point where I don't really care what people think about me. I've got a great story to tell. And I know after doing these talks at schools, I've had kids come up to me and say, "Hey man, because of what you shared and your story, like I've decided not to take my life," or something like that. And then like, having those types of reactions, I mean, that's why I do it, man. That's why I get up here and talk. That's why I've continued to share my story, even though it's not easy. You know, I get anxiety before I go on and do things and talk to people and share my most intimate secrets. So, yeah, it's really, it's therapeutic for me to get up here and talk about it and share my story because so many people can relate to it.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, man. Now I do need to ask you a couple of questions about football here before I let you go. Obviously, obviously the big news this week, Frank Reich released as head coach. What are the general vibes in the locker room right now, and what kind of struggles does a member of a football team go through when the head coach gets released midseason?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't think any of us in that building really dreamed up being 1-10 after 11 weeks in the NFL. It's been a tough year in that building. Frank is a great guy. He's got a great message, very spiritual guy. And it's just unfortunate that it hasn't led to wins and losses because in this league, man, it's a meritocracy. And it's what have you done for me lately? And, we wish Frank the best. He was an awesome guy. Just unfortunately, it didn't translate into wins and losses. So maybe getting a new voice in there will kind of help us, down the stretch here. Maybe, pile some wins heading into the offseason and just try to find some positives.
Talk to me a little bit about Bryce Young. Is there anything that you've seen in his development so far this season? Maybe something that we're not seeing when we just, as fans, tune in on Sundays. Maybe it's something in the locker room and kind of how he handles himself. Mm-hmm. Is kind of talk to me about his development through the first 12 weeks of his rookie season?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not the year that any of us really dreamed up. I'm sure Bryce can say that for himself. It's not really the rookie year that he could have imagined, but it's a situation that we're in. The one thing I can say about Bryce is he's the same guy week to week. He's obviously, we see what happens on Sundays, kind of taking his lumps with the pressures and the sacks and things like that. I know for one thing, we can be better around him as an offensive unit, and that includes myself. Just playing better football, more sound football, just keeping him upright. Because I know playing tight end is pretty damn hard in the NFL. I can't imagine playing quarterback in the NFL, especially being a rookie. Just all sorts of added pressures. But the one thing I'll say about Bryce is no matter what the score is, no matter how many times he was sacked or picks or whatever it may have been, he shows up ready to work on Mondays. He's trying to get it figured out. He's trying to fix it. He's not feeling sorry for himself. That is the one positive thing that I can say. And I think really everybody needs to do that, myself included. Get back in there, watch the tape, just focus on being a better player. We're not playing for much at 1-10, except for your pride. So go in there, get it fixed. And again, that includes myself. Go in there, get things fixed, and kind of get this thing rolling.
Now let's end off here on something positive. And that is, Hayden, I don't know if you can see behind me. I got a Falcons helmet behind me. I am a Falcons fan. You are a former member of the Falcons. Week 1 touchdown against the Falcons. Was that one a little extra special for you?
Yeah, I was pretty fired up for that one. To the point where I forgot it was Bryce's first touchdown pass, but I was just so happy to score against my old team. I didn't really even think about that, but luckily, the fan that I threw it towards or at, he didn't take too kindly to it and threw it right back. So I guess the joke's on him. Could have gotten tickets or something out of it, but he decided to boo me and throw it back at me. So we got it for Bryce. So all is well.
That's hilarious. Well, if there's one member of the Panthers that I'll cheer for when they score against my Falcons, it's you. Let the people know, is there anywhere they can find more information, both for Face the Fight and for your own foundation as well?
Yeah, absolutely. If you find more info on wefacethefight.org, you can also go to haydenhurstfamilyfoundation.com. All the information, all the links are on there. You can go on my Instagram page, see the roundtable talk, USA roundtable talk that I did with Bernard Hines and Melissa Lopez. Great talk, great conversation. Got to share our stories. And again, man, whatever I can do, whatever link you can click on to continue the story, continue the conversation. If you feel moved by it, go check it out.
Yeah, and in that video as well, your Instagram, Hayden Hurst, you get to take a look at what the cleats look like, which are pretty nice looking. I got to admit. Oh, you have them right there. Perfect. Beautiful.
Little sneak peek. That's the right one. And we got the names, everybody on there.
Very cool.
Really cool for me. I'll show you the other one real quick. It's kind of got all the digital camo of, Atlanta, Cincinnati, and we got the blue, the Ravens. So they're cool, man. Awesome. They represent a lot more than just myself. You know, I got a lot of people on these cleats. It means a lot to me. So excited to wear them and show them off, man. It's going to be really cool.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for the time, Hayden. Take care and best of luck the rest of the season.